The wind howled through the empty park, carrying the scent of rain and regret. Mia stood frozen, her boots sinking into the damp earth, staring at the woman she hadn't seen in 15 years. Her mother, Claire, was no longer the blurred memory of a child. She was real, standing just 10 feet away, her eyes searching Mia's face like a map to a lost world. 15 years ago, Mia had been 13, a girl with a backpack and a broken heart, sent to live with her grandmother in rural Maine. No explanation, no goodbye, just a note from Claire promising she'd come back for her someday. That day never came. Now at 28, Mia had returned to the small coastal town of Havenport, Maine, driven by a longing she couldn't name and a journal she'd found in her grandmother's attic. A journal that wasn't her mother's, but someone else's, someone who had loved Claire fiercely. Mia's fingers tightened around the leather-bound journal, its pages worn and yellowed, filled with poetry and promises. The words inside had shaken her to her core, revealing a love story her mother had never spoken of. A love that might explain why Claire had abandoned her all those years ago. She took a step forward, her heart pounding. "Why didn't you come back for me?" she asked, her voice cracking under the weight of the years. Claire's face crumpled, her hands trembling as she reached out, then stopped herself. "Mia, I wanted to. Every day I wanted to. But I couldn't, not after what happened." Her voice was soft, but it carried a grief that made the air feel heavier. Mia's chest tightened. She'd spent years imagining this moment, rehearsing her anger, her questions. But now, standing in front of her mother, all she felt was a desperate need to understand. The journal burned in her hands, a key to a truth she wasn't sure she was ready to face. "What happened, Mom? Who was she?" Claire's eyes widened, a flicker of panic crossing her face. "You found it," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rustling leaves. "You found her journal." The park seemed to hold its breath as Mia nodded, her gaze unwavering. She didn't know who she was, not yet, but the words in the journal had painted a picture of a love so consuming it had changed her mother's life. A love between Claire and a woman named Lily. A love that had ended in tragedy. Mia's pulse raced as she realized this reunion wasn't just about her and her mother. It was about uncovering a secret that had shaped their family's history. As a teenager, Mia had always known she was different. She'd felt it in the way her heart raced when her best friend, Sarah, smiled at her, in the way she'd linger on the curve of a woman's laughter. But in her grandmother's strict religious household, those feelings were buried deep, locked away like a shameful secret. Now, holding the journal, Mia wondered if her mother's story held the key to her own. "Mia," Claire said, stepping closer, her voice trembling with urgency. "There's so much I need to tell you, but it's not safe, not here, not now." She glanced around the park, her eyes darting to the shadows as if expecting someone to emerge. Mia frowned, unease curling in her stomach. "Not safe? Mom, what are you talking about? I deserve to know the truth." Claire's lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she reached out and touched Mia's arm, her fingers warm and hesitant. "Come with me. There's a place we can talk. A place where she used to take me." Mia hesitated, torn between the anger that had fueled her for years and the pull of her mother's touch, so familiar yet so foreign. She nodded, clutching the journal tighter, and followed Claire out of the park, toward a truth that would unravel everything she thought she knew. The streets of Havenport were quiet as they walked, the quaint New England town bathed in the soft glow of streetlights. Mia's mind raced, piecing together fragments of the journal's entries, Lily's words about stolen kisses by the ocean, about a love that defied the world's judgment. Whoever Lily was, she had been Claire's everything. But why had it ended? And why had it cost Mia her mother? They stopped at a small, weathered cottage overlooking the Atlantic, its paint peeling but its windows warm with light. Claire pushed open the door and Mia stepped inside, the scent of lavender and old wood enveloping her. The living room was cluttered with books and photographs, a shrine to a life Mia had never been part of. "This was her place," Claire said softly, her eyes lingering on a framed photo of a woman with wild red hair and a radiant smile. "Lily's." Mia's breath caught as she looked at the photo. Lily was beautiful, her eyes full of fire and tenderness. The journal suddenly felt heavier in her hands, its words a bridge to a woman she'd never met but felt inexplicably connected to. "Tell me about her," Mia said, her voice steady despite the storm in her chest. "Tell me why you left me." Claire sank onto a worn couch, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. I didn't want to leave you, Mia. But after Lily, after what happened to her, I had no choice. Mia sat across from her, the journal open on her lap. The room felt alive with the weight of unspoken truths, and as Claire began to speak, Mia braced herself for a story that would change everything. Claire's voice was low, almost a whisper as she began. Lily and I met when I was 25 right here in Havenport. She was a painter, full of life and courage, and she saw parts of me I didn't even know existed. We fell in love deeply, recklessly. But this town, it wasn't ready for us. Mia leaned forward, her heart aching at the pain in her mother's voice. She could feel the love Claire still carried for Lily, a love that had survived years of separation and loss. But there was something else in Claire's tone, fear, guilt, a secret too heavy to bear alone. What happened to her? Mia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Claire's eyes filled with tears and she looked away, toward the ocean beyond the window. She was taken from me, Mia. And it was my fault. The words hung in the air, sharp and unforgiving. Mia's pulse quickened, the journal's pages fluttering in her hands as if urging her to keep reading, to uncover the truth Claire was still holding back. She didn't know what lay ahead, but she knew one thing for certain. This reunion was only the beginning. Mia's fingers traced the edges of the journal, her eyes locked on her mother's face. The cottage felt too small to contain the weight of Claire's words, the air thick with the ghosts of a past Mia had never known. Outside, the ocean roared, a restless echo of the storm brewing inside her. Taken from you? Mia repeated, her voice sharp with disbelief. What does that mean, Mom? You're talking in riddles. Claire's hands twisted in her lap, her knuckles white. I know it's hard to hear, Mia. I've spent years trying to protect you from this, from the truth about Lily. But you deserve to know, even if it hurts. Mia's chest tightened, a mix of frustration and longing. She'd come to Havenport for answers, not more mysteries. The journal in her hands felt like a lifeline, its pages filled with Lily's words, poems about love, sketches of Claire's face, and cryptic notes about leaving before it's too late. Mia opened the journal to a page she'd marked, her voice steady as she read aloud. They'll never let us be free, Claire. We have to run, or they'll destroy us. Who was she running from? Claire flinched, as if the words were a physical blow. She stood and crossed to the window, her silhouette framed against the darkening sky. Lily was fearless, but she wasn't naive. She knew what it meant to love openly in a place like Havenport in the early 2000s. We thought we could hide it, but people talk. They judge. And some do worse. Mia's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of her mother's story. Havenport was a small town, its charm masking a conservative undercurrent. She remembered her grandmother's stern lectures about proper behavior, the way she'd shut down any talk of Mia's own feelings for girls. Had Claire and Lily faced that same judgment but magnified? Had it driven them apart? Tell me what happened, Mia said, her voice softer now, pleading. I need to understand why you sent me away. Claire turned, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Lily and I were together for 2 years. We were careful but not careful enough. Her family, her brother James, he found out about us. He was furious, said we were an abomination. He threatened to expose us, to ruin my life, my career. I was a teacher then, Mia. I couldn't risk losing you. Mia's heart sank. She remembered her mother's classroom, the way Claire used to light up when she talked about her students. But she also remembered the whispers, the way neighbors would stop talking when she entered a room. Had they known about Lily? Had they judged her mother for who she loved? James didn't stop at threats, Claire continued, her voice breaking. One night, he came to our apartment. Lily was there, painting. He was drunk, angry. He said he'd make sure she'd never see me again. I tried to stop him, but he hurt her, Mia. Badly. Mia's breath caught, her hands trembling as she clutched the journal. Hurt her? You mean he didn't kill her, Claire said quickly, as if sensing Mia's fear. But he beat her so badly she ended up in the hospital. She was unconscious for days. And when she woke up, she was different. Scared. She told me we had to end it, that it was too dangerous. She left town a week later, and I never saw her again. Mia's mind reeled. The journal's final entries had been frantic, filled with Lily's fear and resolve. I can't let them take you from me, Claire. But I can't stay. Forgive me. Mia had assumed Lily had left of her own accord, but now she saw the truth. Lily had been driven away, her spirit broken by violence and hate. Why didn't you tell me? Mia asked, her voice thick with emotion. I was your daughter. I deserved to know why you sent me to Grandma's. Claire sank back onto the couch, her face pale. Because I was ashamed, Mia. Ashamed that I couldn't protect her. Ashamed that I let fear win. After Lily left, James threatened to come after you if I didn't stay away from her. He said he'd tell everyone I was unfit to be a mother. I couldn't risk losing you, so I sent you to your grandmother's. I thought it would keep you safe. Mia's eyes burned with tears. She'd spent years resenting her mother, believing Claire had abandoned her for no reason. But now she saw the sacrifice, the pain Claire had carried alone. Still, one question gnawed at her. Why didn't you come back for me? After James, after all of it. Claire's gaze dropped to the floor. Because I was broken, Mia. Losing Lily, losing you, it shattered me. I told myself I'd come back when I was whole again, but I never was. Not until you found me. The room fell silent, the weight of Claire's confession settling over them like a heavy fog. Mia wanted to be angry, to scream at her mother for letting fear dictate their lives. But all she felt was a deep aching sadness, for Claire, for Lily, for the years they'd lost. She reached out, her hand finding her mother's. I'm here now, she said softly. And I'm not leaving until I know everything. Claire squeezed her hand, a tear slipping down her cheek. There's more, Mia. Lily didn't just leave. She left something behind. Something I've been keeping safe all these years. Mia's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? Claire stood and crossed to a small wooden box on the mantel, her hands trembling as she opened it. Inside was a stack of letters, tied with a faded ribbon. These are from Lily, Claire said, her voice barely above a whisper. She wrote to me after she left. I never opened them. I couldn't bear it. Mia stared at the letters, her pulse racing. The journal had revealed Lily's love, her pain, but these letters, they might hold the final pieces of the puzzle. She reached for them, her fingers brushing the ribbon, but Claire stopped her. Not yet, Claire said, her voice firm. There's something else you need to know first. Something about Lily's family, and mine. Mia's stomach twisted. The fear in her mother's eyes was back, sharper now, as if the past was reaching out to claim them both. She nodded, bracing herself for whatever came next, knowing that the truth about Lily would change everything. The cottage seemed to shrink around Mia as she stared at the stack of letters, their edges yellowed with time. The air was thick with the scent of lavender and secrets, and Claire's words hung between them like a storm cloud ready to break. Mia's hand hovered over the letters, but she pulled back, sensing the weight of what her mother was about to reveal. What about Lily's family? Mia asked, her voice steady despite the unease curling in her chest. And ours? What aren't you telling me? Claire's eyes darted to the window, as if checking for shadows beyond the glass. She sat back down, clutching the box of letters like a lifeline. Lily's brother James wasn't just angry about us, she began, her voice low and careful. He was obsessed with control, with keeping Lily in line. But it wasn't just him. Our families, mine and Lily's, they were connected in ways I didn't understand until it was too late. Mia frowned, her mind racing to make sense of her mother's words. She'd grown up with her grandmother's stories about their family, tales of hard-working fishermen and church-going women, but nothing that hinted at a connection to someone like Lily. Connected how? She asked. Claire took a deep breath, her hands trembling as she set the box on the coffee table. Your grandmother, my mother. She and Lily's mother were best friends growing up. They were inseparable, almost like sisters. But when they were in their 20s, something happened. Falling out. Grandma never told me the details, but after Lily and I got together, I started to suspect it had to do with love. Mia's breath hitched. The journal's pages flashed in her mind. Lily's words about love defying judgment, about secrets that could tear families apart. You think they were in love too? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Claire nodded, her eyes distant. I can't prove it, but the way Grandma talked about Lily's mother, Eleanor, there was so much pain there. And anger. When I told her about Lily, she was furious, not just because we were two women, but because it was Lily. Like history was repeating itself. Mia's heart pounded. The idea that her grandmother and Lily's mother might have shared a love like Claire and Lily's, it was both beautiful and heartbreaking. It explained the tension, the silence that had surrounded her childhood. But it didn't explain why Claire was still so afraid. "There's more," Claire said, her voice dropping even lower. "After Lily left, James didn't just threaten me. He said he'd make sure no one in our family ever lived free of his control. He had influence in this town, money, connections. He made it clear that if I ever tried to find Lily or tell anyone the truth, he'd come after you." Mia's blood ran cold. She'd never met James, but the fear in her mother's voice made him feel like a shadow looming over them. "What kind of influence?" she asked, her voice sharp. "And why would he care so much about you and Lily?" Claire hesitated, her fingers brushing the ribbon on the letters. James was part of a group in Havenport, powerful people, mostly men, who called themselves the Guardians. They saw themselves as the moral backbone of the town, but really they were bullies. They hated anything that challenged their idea of right and wrong. Lily and we were a threat to their perfect little world. Mia's stomach churned. She'd heard whispers of groups like that growing up, men who used religion and tradition to control others. But to think they'd targeted her mother, driven Lily away, it made her skin crawl. Did they hurt her? Beyond that one night. Claire's eyes filled with tears and she looked away. "I don't know. Lily's letters might tell us, but I was too afraid to read them. Every time I thought about opening them, I'd see James's face, hear his threats. I told myself I was protecting you by staying silent." Mia reached for her mother's hand, her anger softening into something more complex. Grief, love, a need to heal the wounds they'd both carried. "Mom, you don't have to be afraid anymore. I'm here. We can face this together." Claire squeezed her hand, a small grateful smile breaking through her tears. "You're so much stronger than I was, Mia. I see it in you, the way you carry yourself, the way you're not afraid to be who you are." Mia's cheeks warmed. She hadn't told her mother about her own journey, about the years she'd spent coming to terms with her attraction to women. But Claire's words felt like an acknowledgement, a bridge between their shared truths. "I had to learn to be," Mia said softly. "Grandma's house wasn't exactly a safe place to figure myself out." Claire's face fell, guilt flashing in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Mia. I thought sending you there would protect you, but I see now how much it cost you." Mia shook her head, her throat tight. "It's okay, Mom. I survived. And I found myself, even if it took a while. But I need to know the rest of this story. For both of us." Claire nodded, her gaze returning to the letters. "Then let's read them. Together." Mia's heart raced as she untied the ribbon, the letters spilling onto the table. Each one was addressed to Claire in Lily's elegant handwriting, the ink faded but still legible. Mia picked up the first letter, her hands trembling as she unfolded it. The words were a window into a world she'd never known. A love story that had been silenced but never forgotten. "My dearest Claire," the letter began. "I'm writing this from a place so far from you, it hurts to breathe. But I need you to know that I left to protect you, to protect Mia. James isn't just my brother. He's dangerous and he's not alone." Mia's eyes widened, her pulse hammering as she read on. Lily's words painted a picture of a woman on the run, not just from her brother, but from a network of people determined to erase her. The letter spoke of hiding, of changing her name, of a love that refused to die despite the distance. "She's still out there," Mia whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "She didn't want to leave you." Claire's sobs broke the silence, her hands covering her face. "I should have fought harder. I should have gone after her." Mia reached for her mother, pulling her into a hug. "You did what you thought was right. But we can find her now. We can make this right." Claire clung to her, her tears soaking Mia's shoulder. For the first time in 15 years, they held each other. Two women bound by love and loss, determined to uncover the truth. But as Mia held the letters, a chill ran through her. James was still out there, and if Lily was right, he wasn't alone. The letters lay scattered across the table, each one a piece of Lily's heart preserved in ink. Mia's eyes burned from reading, her throat tight with the weight of Lily's words. Love, fear, and a desperate hope that Claire would one day understand. Outside, the ocean's rhythm had softened, but the tension in the cottage was palpable, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Mia looked at her mother, whose face was streaked with tears but resolute. "She's alive, Mom," Mia said, holding up the last letter, dated just 3 years ago. "Lily's out there somewhere. We can find her." Claire shook her head, her voice trembling. "It's not that simple, Mia. James, he's still in Havenport. I've seen him watching me sometimes. I don't know if he knows about the letters, but if he finds out we're looking for her." Mia's stomach twisted. The idea of James, a man she'd never met but whose shadow loomed over her family, sent a shiver down her spine. What can he do now? It's been 15 years. He can't control us anymore. Claire's eyes darkened. "You don't know him, Mia. He's not just one man, he's part of something bigger. The Guardians, they're still here. They've got money, influence. They've kept this town under their thumb for decades." Mia's mind flashed to the journal, to Lily's warnings about they who would destroy them. She'd thought it was just James's anger, but now she saw the truth. A network of power, rooted in fear and control, had torn her mother's life apart. And it might not be done with them yet. "We can't let them win," Mia said, her voice fierce. "Lily loved you, Mom. She left to protect you, to protect me. We owe it to her to find out what happened, to make sure she's okay." Claire's gaze softened, a flicker of the woman she'd once been, bold in love, shining through. "You're right," she said, her voice steadier now. "But we need to be careful. If we're going to find Lily, we need to know what we're up against." Mia nodded, her resolve hardening. She picked up the letters, scanning them for clues. Most were written from different cities: Boston, Seattle, a small town in Oregon, each one more guarded than the last. But one detail stood out: a mention of a gallery in Portland, Oregon, where Lily had hoped to show her paintings. It was a long shot, but it was a start. "Let's go to Portland," Mia said, her heart racing at the thought. "We can start there, see if anyone knows her." Claire hesitated, fear flickering in her eyes. What if she doesn't want to be found? What if she's built a new life? Mia reached for her mother's hand, squeezing it tightly. "Then we'll respect that. But we need to try, Mom. For her. For us." Claire nodded, a small smile breaking through her fear. "Okay, let's do this. Together." The next morning, Mia and Claire packed a small bag and drove to the airport, the letters and journal tucked safely in Mia's backpack. The flight to Portland was quiet, both women lost in their thoughts. Mia kept replaying Lily's words, her love for Claire so vivid it felt like a living thing. She wondered what Lily would be like now, older, perhaps wiser, but still the woman who'd painted the world with her heart. In Portland, they found the gallery mentioned in the letter, a small eclectic space filled with vibrant paintings and sculptures. The owner, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes, listened as Mia explained their search for a painter named Lily. Her face lit up with recognition. "Lily Harper," the woman said, her voice warm. "She showed her work here a few years ago. Beautiful pieces full of emotion. She was quiet, kept to herself, but her art, it spoke volumes." Mia's heart leaped. "Do you know where she is now?" The woman's smile faded slightly. "She moved on, said she needed a fresh start. But she left an address for mail, a P.O. box in a town called Astoria, about 2 hours from here." Mia and Claire exchanged a glance, hope sparking between them. Astoria was close, closer than they'd dared to hope. They thanked the woman and drove west, the Oregon coast unfolding in a blur of rugged cliffs and crashing waves. Mia's mind raced with possibilities. Would Lily be there? Would she remember Claire? Would she want to see them? When they reached Astoria, a charming seaside town, they found the post office and inquired about the P.O. box. The clerk, a young man with a friendly smile, confirmed it was still active, but he couldn't give out more information. Mia's heart sank, but Claire's eyes were bright with determination. "We're so close," Claire said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I can feel her, Mia. She's here." They decided to stay in Astoria, renting a small room at a bed and breakfast overlooking the Columbia River. That night, Mia couldn't sleep, her mind racing with questions. She opened the journal again, reading Lily's final entry. "If you ever find me, Claire, know that I never stopped loving you. But some truths are too heavy to carry alone." Mia's chest ached. She thought of her own journey, the years she'd spent hiding her love for women, afraid of the world's judgment. Finding Lily wasn't just about her mother, It was about understanding herself, about reclaiming a legacy of love that had been stolen. The next morning they walked the streets of Astoria, asking locals about a painter named Lily. Most shook their heads, but one woman, an artist at a local co-op, paused when she heard the name. "There's a woman who lives out by the cliffs," she said. "Keeps to herself, paints a lot. Red hair, maybe in her 40s. She goes by Lila now, but I've heard her called Lily." Mia's pulse raced. Lila. It had to be her. She and Claire followed the woman's directions to a small house perched on a cliff, its windows glowing with the light of dawn. Mia's heart pounded as they approached, the journal clutched tightly in her hands. This was it, the moment they'd been searching for. But as they reached the door, a car pulled up behind them, its engine loud in the quiet morning. Mia turned, her blood running cold as a man stepped out, his face hard and unforgiving. It was James. Mia's heart stopped as James approached, his presence a dark stain against the soft morning light. He was older now, his hair graying, but the menace in his eyes was unmistakable. Claire grabbed Mia's arm, her grip tight with fear, but Mia stood her ground, the journal a shield in her hands. "Claire," James said, his voice cold and measured, "you shouldn't be here." Mia stepped forward, anger surging through her. "You don't get to tell us where we belong. Not anymore." James's eyes narrowed, flicking to the journal. "You've been digging, haven't you? Stirring up things that should stay buried." Claire's voice trembled, but she held her head high. "We're here for Lily. You can't stop us." James laughed, a sound that sent chills down Mia's spine. "Lily? You think she wants you back? After what you did to her?" Mia's stomach twisted. She glanced at her mother, whose face had gone pale. "What's he talking about, Mom?" she asked, her voice low. Claire shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. "He's lying, Mia. He's always lied." But James stepped closer, his voice dripping with venom. "Ask her about the night I found you too. Ask her why Lily ended up in the hospital." Mia's heart pounded, doubt creeping in despite her resolve. She turned to Claire, searching her face for answers. "Mom, what's he talking about?" Before Claire could respond, the door of the house swung open, and a woman stepped out. Her red hair was streaked with silver, her face lined with years of hardship, but her eyes, those were the eyes from the photograph, full of fire and love. It was Lily. "James," she said, her voice steady but laced with pain. "Leave them alone." James's face twisted with rage, but Lily didn't flinch. She walked toward Mia and Claire, her gaze softening as it landed on Claire. "You found me," she whispered, her voice breaking. Claire sobbed, reaching for Lily's hand. "I never stopped looking." Mia's throat tightened as she watched them, their connection unbroken despite the years. But James's presence loomed, a reminder of the danger they faced. "Why are you here, James?" Mia demanded, stepping between him and her mother. James's eyes burned with hatred. "To make sure you don't ruin everything. This town, this family, we've worked too hard to keep things right." Lily's voice cut through the tension, sharp and unwavering. "You don't control us anymore, James. I left to protect Claire, to protect her daughter. But I'm done running." Mia's heart swelled with admiration. Lily was everything the journal had promised, brave, fierce, unbroken. She turned to James, her voice steady. "You've hurt enough people. Walk away, or we'll make sure everyone knows what you did." James hesitated, his confidence faltering as he looked at the three women standing together. For the first time he seemed small, his power diminished in the face of their unity. Without another word, he turned and got back in his car, the engine roaring as he drove away. Mia exhaled, her body trembling with relief. She turned to Lily, who was now holding Claire's face in her hands, their foreheads pressed together. "I'm so sorry," Claire whispered. "I should have fought for you." Lily smiled, tears streaming down her face. "You're here now. That's enough." Mia stepped back, giving them space, her heart full. The journal in her hands felt lighter now, its secrets no longer a burden but a testament to a love that had survived. She thought of her own journey, the years she'd spent hiding who she was, and realized that this moment, this reunion, was a gift. It was a chance to live openly, to love without fear. Over the next few days, Mia, Claire, and Lily talked, laughed, and cried, piecing together the years they'd lost. Lily had built a quiet life in Astoria, painting under a new name, but she'd never stopped loving Claire. The letters had been her way of holding on, even when she thought they'd never see each other again. Mia found herself opening up too, sharing her own struggles with her identity, her fears of being judged. Lily listened, her eyes warm with understanding, and told her stories of her own journey, of finding strength in a world that tried to break her. One evening as they sat on the cliffs watching the sunset, Claire took Mia's hand and Lily's, linking them together. "I lost so much time with both of you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "But I promise I'll spend the rest of my life making it right." Mia squeezed her mother's hand, tears in her eyes. "We're a family now, Mom. All of us." Lily smiled, her hand warm in Claire's. "A family," she echoed, her voice full of hope. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Mia felt a weight lift from her heart. The secrets that had torn them apart had also brought them together, stronger than ever. They were three women, bound by love, resilience, and the courage to live their truth. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. James and his allies were still out there, and Havenport's shadows lingered. But Mia knew they could face it together. She looked at her mother and Lily, their hands intertwined, and felt a surge of pride. This was her legacy. Not shame, not fear, but love that refused to be silenced. And as the waves crashed below, Mia made a silent promise to herself. She would live as boldly as Lily had, as fiercely as her mother had fought to find her. This was their story, and it was only just beginning. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.